This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Tom, just got the email from Kyle Parkinson, Associate Athletics Director at Arkansas, that Colby Smith has been officially named as the running backs head coach. There were wide reports, pretty much the speculation was not guaranteed, but there. Just kind of your thoughts on the timeline, that Jimmy Smith's departure to Fort Worth, and then the recent acquisition of Colby Smith at that same position.
Right. Well, good morning, guys. I've been watching practice from the Bev Lewis lot. Well, the pre-practice, I guess. We're about to go in there, and I have not seen that email. But yeah, I just think it's a deal where, you try. If you're Bobby Petrino, how many of your own guys, quote, do you want? Well, he's definitely got Fouch, and I think Mateos was a combined, agreed-upon deal. Morgan Turner, obviously, good credentials as a tight ends coach. But, what are you going to do at running backs? How hard was TCU pursuing Jimmy Smith? Because he worked with Kendall Briles. So a lot of factors involved there. Colby Smith, obviously a player for Bobby Petrino at Louisville, knows him, coached with him at Western Kentucky and Louisville. So, it's one of those one of my guy type situations. And I tell you, I don't know if this is going to be written about in the coming years or what, but Jimmy Smith's ability, first, he was a great recruiter, and then his ability to keep that running back room together, particularly after 21. Taylen Smith did leave, but, that was the year they brought back Rocket as a sophomore, A.J. Green as a sophomore. Dominic Johnson was coming off a huge year. and they brought in Rashad Dubinion, and they managed to make it work. And, I mean, you think about the Texas game where, like, all those guys scored touchdowns, and then next year Rocket really blows up, and they managed to keep A.J. Green and Dubinion, in the fold going into 22. And, it blew up a little bit after last year when they didn't have much of a running attack. But I think Jimmy Smith's legacy here is one of a really good recruiter and a guy who brought in a big stable of running backs that able to hang on for a few years.
Tom, you mentioned being at practice. You mentioned about to see practice coming up this morning. You had a chance to catch up with Taylen Green, and I was reading your article, and I get a sense, and you're there on a daily basis, that he hasn't necessarily locked up the quarterback one role, but he is the leader right now. Is that, from what you've gathered the last few days, are you predominantly more on that side than maybe you were prior to spring practice?
Well, you had the sense that he or Criswell might be with the ones because they're the most veteran guys. Criswell obviously got playing time here last year. But, yes, I would strongly agree with the statement that he's in the lead. There was an interesting conversation with Sam Pittman on Friday last week about the microphones or the speakers that they're going to put in the helmets, which is going to be allowed for one player on offense, one player on defense. Obviously, that's your quarterback. They haven't done that for Taylen Green yet, and it's because if we do that, we're basically saying he is the man. And this is an open quarterback competition. Even though we've only seen Taylen Green with the one, that's like a decisive step. And it probably will wind up in the helmet of a linebacker, almost certainly as well. But it's a step they haven't had to take yet, and I think during the course of spring they might start experimenting with it, obviously, to get ready for next year. But, I mean, Criswell was with the threes. I think it might have been some kind of indication of what they thought of the workouts and leadership stuff all during the winter workouts. Now, Criswell did take a lot of snaps with the twos in the second workout. We didn't see Sunday, but we're about to get practice number 4 here in a minute, and I suspect Green will still be with the ones, and then the twos will be a really close examination here.
Yeah, and I've talked to a couple people that had eyes on practices this weekend, both of them, and the common thing that keeps coming away, there's still a lot of work to do, but they're headed in the right direction. But that's the phrase I keep coming back, keep hearing from people that have put eyes on it. There's still a lot of work to do, but they like the direction things are going.
Yeah, and, here was my take, and I wrote about it some, I think, in Saturday's paper, and it was that there seems to be a better flow to the offense. If I'm thinking back to last spring and then in camp, the amount of fastball starts we saw where running plays were pretty bottled up close to the line of scrimmage. There wasn't a lot of running room. Well, here, just the way the misdirection and the blocking schemes or what have you, there seems to be more freedom. The running backs have hit the holes and kind of had a little more downhill to them so far. And it's all just, esoteric, I guess. It's just the feel of it and the look of it. And I'm not saying this because I know Bobby Petrino's had great offenses here. That's just what I've seen. And I asked Sam Pittman about it, and he said that some of that is, Bobby Petrino is a genius-type guy. He's been given that label, and he makes things work. But another thing, they've been running a lot more zone to start this camp, and I have noticed that as well. And so that gives you little pockets. And so a Bobby Petrino offense finds ways to get your tight end right in that little pocket or right in the slant, over the linebackers, inside the zone coverage, and they've just been better at it. And, I mean, I'm not one to just sit and bag on Dan Enos, but Bobby Petrino's experience over the years, I just think, gives him a little more creativity and innovation in what he does offense.
Here's what Bobby Petrino calls plays with a scalpel. You can use that line in one of your articles.
He does. He finds a way to exploit what you're doing and just get a guy in space.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of times it's just that simple. Where your X's line up against their O's and how you get that guy in space, and then what he does with the ball when he gets it.
Yeah. So another takeaway is everyone is expecting to go watch one of these practices and see Bobby Petrino be a madman and dropping profanities left and right. I was told by someone that was on the field firsthand, watching the practices from a distance, that he is far more reserved than people think, and he is ultra focused on the quarterbacks and what he's doing, and he is not. He is doing a lot of teaching and not a lot of screaming and yelling. So this I think this image that a lot of people have that he's out there like a madman like 15 years ago. He is a different. He's taking a much different approach, and he's a different person. Would you say that's correct from what you've seen?
Bobby Petrino was a smart guy. When he was the head coach here, and we had open practices and scrimmages and such. I heard all that, he's not the head coach now. He's the offensive coordinator, and he's learned. And I think today's modern kids, they might learn in a different way, and yelling and screaming isn't like a great way for a lot of them. So, yes, I have heard a lot more of a low-key Bobby Petrino. I really haven't heard his voice raised above the din of a normal practice. Now, that was indoors, and we're about to be outdoors here in a minute, and so we'll see. But and there are times I'm sure he gets on guys. I've seen him displeased, but it hasn't been to the point where he's, bombing a guy out in front of everybody. And I think that's he's matured since he was the head coach here, and B, it's a different style of player.
Tom, last thing before we let you go. There have been plenty of NFL free agency signings in the last 24 to 48 hours. Your Atlanta Falcons just dropped a lot of money on Kirk Cousins. Do you like the investment?
Well, I haven't seen the money. I got a text from somebody when I was doing something else yesterday and hadn't seen the news, but the text was in all caps and it says, "You like that." So I knew what that meant. And, is he an upgrade over
Ritter?
Desmond Ritter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is. He's a more veteran. Is he as nimble as Desmond Ritter? No. Probably more accurate. And, has been around the game a lot longer, so it gives us a better chance to win next year. But my guess is that, the legacy of this contract is going to be at some point where, it's not going to be a great value to the Falcons. And hopefully he's a great leader. Hopefully he takes to Atlanta. The roster takes to him. The new coaching staff find a way, to make his qualities come to life. So I'll be rooting for him, obviously, but I think time has shown us a guy of his age and his background and his skill. I don't know if it's going to wind up being a great value to us.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.